Anyway, welcome aboard, Marcel. How you doing, baby? How was your weekend?
I was quiet, man. Nice and quiet, just like I like it. I wanted to go see a movie this weekend, right? Like I woke up one day and I saw a trailer for Oppenheimer. So I was like, all right, I'm gonna go see Oppenheimer today. It doesn't come out until like the end of July. That derailed me. I was like, okay, well, then I guess I'm just gonna chill. That's but I hear that the new Spider-Man was excellent. So I think next movie I go see will be that.
I'm just so tired that it's just a new Spider-Man all the time, and it's just like.
Well, this is the thing. Did you see what is it called? Into the Universe or Into the Multiverse, whatever the last.
The last one with the other dude. That's not the other guy.
No. This is the cartoon version.
Oh no, I did not see the cartoon version.
See, it's a new angle. It's new. You're not just seeing Toby Andrew and what's his name.
No, he's not just bit by the spider and becoming Spider-Man again. We're not going through the whole story again.
I think they did, but this is Miles Morales. It's not Peter Parker.
Okay. Right.
Peter's in it, but it's the Miles Morales Spider-Man arc.
What does that mean?
Miles Morales, like the black and Puerto Rican Spider-Man?
I have no idea. There's a black Puerto Rican Spider-Man?
Yeah, man. I
have no idea.
Come on, Chad, we got to put him on game here. We got to put him on game.
I had no idea. I'll be completely honest. I am worn out of superhero movies. I follow them less and less now because it's all repetitive. There's very little creativity throughout all of this shit. And it's like, how many more times are you going to see the Spider-Man story?
This one's pretty creative.
I didn't know that this was a completely different Spider-Man, and I guess there's a whole different history of a completely different Spider-Man that I didn't know about. So I don't know.
Yeah, no, this is a pretty unique. It's a pretty different story. I thought the last one was excellent. I like that animation style. It's I don't know what the company is called, the studio that does it, but they also did this movie on Netflix called Intergalactic, like Intergalactic, but with the E, Intergalactic. And it's like produced by Kid Cudi, starring Kid Cudi. Musically, visually, it's an experience. If you're looking for just something to like chill to, quiet night, maybe some other things going on in your night. I don't know if we're allowed to discuss it, but throw on Intergalactic, you won't be disappointed. You won't be disappointed. Good music too.
Are you saying that you should get galactic while you're watching Intergalactic?
I'm just, if you partake, who am I to tell you that you are wrong? Okay. Who am I to, it's kind of, I feel like it's not so taboo anymore. There's vans. I walked by a van or drove by a van not 8 minutes ago selling weed out the side door in Wynwood. So it happens out here.
No, it's illegal. It's fine. You can talk about it. I mean, I don't care. And by the way, any dispensary wants to join our platform, we are more than open to it, and we'll broadcast from. By the way, it is a bucket list. I got to broadcast from a dispensary. I mean, that's just, I have to do that. There's got to be a way that I broadcast from a dispensary. So I have no problem with that. People do that, Jay. What's the difference between the guy that has a joint or has a glass or two of whiskey?
My thing has always been, I really don't care what your vice is. Everybody has one. As long as you are a productive member of society, I don't really care what you do. As long as you're not hurting anybody and you're contributing something, bro, live your life. I'm not in charge.
Don't hurt others, don't hurt kids, and we're good, bro. Whatever you want to do. We got a bigger problem with prescription pills in this country than weed. Okay, so that's just the way it goes. But anyways, it is what it is. I asked Alan Poupart, so I will ask you now. What's going on, bro? Where's the Dalvin Cook trade? Everybody had Dalvin Cook traded here. Well, what's going on? All these reports are so accurate. Tua's going to get traded to the Colts or Washington or or they're still looking for two replacement, or Jordan Poyer's going to sign here for sure.
Well, hold on a second. That one,
accurate reports over the offseason. Here's another one. What's going on, bro?
Well, that the Poyer one, I will say I got a text on January 25th from somebody in Poyer's circle that said that they wanted Miami to happen. They wanted the Dolphins to happen. That's what they're angling for. The money wasn't right. The money that Miami was offering was not right.
Of course.
But you
can want whatever you want. You can want whatever you want. That doesn't mean it's a report. It doesn't mean it really is going to happen or whatever. Just because you want it. I want a couple $1 million so my wife doesn't have to work anymore and I can relax a little bit more. But hey, we can't get
people in hell want ice water, all that. Yeah, so but that was just, I only said that because that was the only one of those I thought could possibly.
No, but we had people that had them here already. Like for sure, it was happening. Like, give me a break, dude. But there's a shitload of those all off season. And and the year before and the year before that, whatever. But the same thing. Everybody had Cook traded here. And so he hasn't been traded. Now, no, it'll happen June 1st. So June 1st came and went. We're on the 5th. What do you hear?
So here's the thing. The Dolphins don't need Dalvin Cook. And hear me out here, because the last time I said something even remotely close to this, some fan started some whole thread that I refused to interact with about this guy doesn't watch football. Look, positives about Dalvin Cook, right? He played 17 games, full season for the first time in his career last year. All right. It was the least efficient season, though, he's had since a rookie. But that kind of happens when you have more carries and more of a workload. I don't think Dalvin is washed, per se. I think he's still a very good running back. I said the Dolphins don't need Dalvin Cook. That is not the missing piece. They're not a running back away from being a Super Bowl contender. And because of that fact, they are not going to part ways with significant capital in order to add a luxury asset to the team. If this was 2 years ago, then I could maybe see it. Like 2 years ago is in the state of the roster when the best running back was Myles Gaskin and Savon Ahmed. Then by all means.
2 years ago without Flo, because no New England coach is going to pay that much for a running back.
You know what I mean? Like if the running back room looked like it did 2 years ago, not the whole overall team.
I got
I understand. But
everything you're saying, bro, makes a crap ton of sense, and some fans just don't get it. I tried to explain last week that it's more important to fix the left guard and the right tackle than it is to get Dalvin Cook, because if the left guard and the right tackle are playing up to par to the right guard, the center, and your left tackle, you're going to have a massive line, and everybody's going to be running 4.5, 5 yards a carry. I don't care what your name is; it doesn't matter. And that's all that matters, really. It's really fixing the left guard and the right tackle more than the three running backs that you already have that look very capable, by the way.
And you spent so in order to get Dalvin Cook, right? He's not Christian McCaffrey. This is not Derrick Henry, right? You're not going to trade a first rounder. You're not going to trade a second rounder even. You probably trade a third round pick and, with some extra features, but the centerpiece is going to be that third round pick, right? I think we can agree that's reasonable.
Yeah, of course.
What did the Dolphins just do with the third round pick?
They got what the head coach
wanted.
They
got it. They got the running back for a third round pick. So that's where they're going to spend their capital. I just wrote about this last week. There are 100 reasons why the Dolphins should not go after Dalvin Cook. But if it's at the right price, then pull the trigger. If he wants to come here, like I said for a Chase Edmonds or a Rheaume Mostert last year type deal, which I think Mostert, he's going to sign for more than that. Let's be respectful to this man. So Chase, you want 2 over 12 or something like that? You want to really severely cut back what you're asking for? By all means, bring him on board. And 8 and up, you don't need that.
No.
They don't
Plus,
need it.
Because you just drafted A-Chain and you bring in Cook, it stunts everything now. and it sets the other guys back now because there's going to be less food for everybody. Less is going to eat. And because Cook also can catch the ball, then you're the guy you drafted. I think this coach is excited to use him as a running back and as a receiver. So then this is going to take away from everything. I just don't think you make this commitment and then all of a sudden bring in Cook, and then you're almost putting everything on the back burner now. And I just don't see that right now.
No, and like, I don't want people to misconstrue this again as if I'm saying like, oh, they don't think Dalvin Cook is good. Oh, you don't need a good player. Like, if you can add good players to your team, then sure, like, go right ahead. But the price has to be right. The price has to be right, and the Dolphins are not in a dire need of Dalvin Cook. They could use Dalvin Cook. Anybody could use the Niners could use Dalvin Cook. The Eagles could use Dalvin Cook. Like, any team can use a good freaking player, but like, it doesn't always make sense. It doesn't always make sense. And in this case, I don't think it. I don't want to, pound the table too hard, so I have to put my foot in my mouth when he signs. But like, it just, there's a world in which they're successful without Dalvin Cook.
What'd you think of Nick Needham and some of the guys coming back from injury? How did they look in that secondary? And then some of the experimentation that is going on also with some of these guys. That's really what it is. It's not that they're moving a guy to center, like let's say Eichenberg. I think it's more about experiments and find out, can you play this position in a pinch?
I'll learn a little bit more about the real rotations this week because it's mandatory minicamp, and there were some people that were not participating over the past few weeks. So I'll just say that. Needham and Jones, they've been running off to the side during the 2 sessions that we have been there for. I have not seen them participate in team or individual drills. I think Brandon Jones is probably he's closer to being ready than Needham. It was a less significant injury. And he was running laps around the field at UCLA, in December. So like, I think that he's on a good track. Needham even being out there, that torn Achilles usually takes about 10 months. I think he tore it in October. So that puts him around now to start, really rehabbing and coming back. So like 10 months to start, just to get back in action again, not 10 months and you're fully cleared. But like, I don't know. I can't say that he'll be ready for the regular season. That's not something that Mike has told us. It's not something that I've particularly heard, but we do have 2 months until the season starts, 3 months until the season starts. There is time, and there is a world in which it might be possible, but I would expect to see Brandon Jones back on the field first before Nick Needham.
Anything with Cedric Wilson. And I'm talking about not just on the field. Hopefully he's healthy and everything's fine, but I'm talking about any chance of moving Cedric Wilson.
If the price is right, sure.
Because now we're past June 1st. That's why I asked that, because maybe it becomes.
If the price is right, sure. But I think he's still in that. I think he's still in that hunt for wide receiver 3. I do think it's a race that Robbie Anderson is leading right now, but it is so early in the game that like it's almost irresponsible to speculate.
I don't think there's 3 on this team, bro, at all. I think it's just a rotation. I think it's situational. I think Barrios will be your 3. I think a whole bunch of other guys will be your 3s. Yeah, I think that's how it's gonna. I think A-Chain will be your 3 at times. I think the tight end your 3. I think everybody's going to rotate on becoming a 3 on this team. I don't think there'll be 3. There's only 2 locks, and that's Hill and Waddle. And then everybody else, I think, will take turns depending on the defense, the scheme, the where you're at on the field, the where the game is at that moment. All those kind of things is what's going to dictate what McDaniel's going to use as a 3. I think getting Higgy with it can be a number 3. Okay. All right. If Tanner Connor doesn't beat him out, I think anybody can be a 3 on this team, actually.
The 3 by committee is more likely, but I mean, somebody's going to start. So I think like the starter, I think somebody's going to have to lead that group of the rest of the all bus in targets. I like what Robbie Anderson has been doing. I ordinarily, if end of last season, if you were to ask me about Cedric Wilson on this team, could have at least fallen back on his return responsibilities. But after signing Braxton Berrios, obviously Braxton Berrios is your returner. He's
Yeah,
a returner.
For sure. And A-Chain will probably help out on kick returns.
Exactly. So Ced is going to have to. He's going to have to make an impact at receiver this year, this offseason.
So you're expecting them to keep.
It's a tough argument.
So you're expecting them to keep 6 or 7 receivers?
They kept 6 last year.
So okay. So then, who's out of Waddle, Hill, Wilson, Berrios, Chosen, Craycraft, and Ezukama?
So obviously Waddle and Hill are making it. Berrios in.
Sure.
Craycraft in.
Okay.
So we've got what
you're not cutting Cedric Wilson either. You're not cutting Cedric Wilson either.
If you don't cut Cedric Wilson, there's 5. Ezukama, 4th round pick last year. That's a hard L to take when you only had 4 draft picks. There's 6. And then who's off the top of my head, who's even left, right?
Chosen, Braylon
Sanders.
I don't think Chosen is a given as much as you guys make him out to be, because they're running around in shorts right now. But we'll see, because
it's really early in the process. But you can't deny the plays that he's making downfield. That's why, I say he's leading this process right now. But we got to see. Talent's never been his problem. It's been sustained.
I heard the same thing with Albert Wilson a couple years ago, and I kept laughing that off and kept telling everybody that ain't. And sure enough, he was gone. We'll see, because maybe somebody gets hurt. But right now, you've got 7. And so you've got, if you're going to even go, and by the way, you got 7. You say you're going to keep 6. Well, hold on a second. What's going on with getting Higgy with it? What if getting Higgy with it all of a sudden is looking good, or the other kid, Tanner Connor? And that's an experiment that I keep telling everybody. That's the offline tight end that they're trying to develop. And if one of those guys develops, it takes away from one of your receivers, because you've got all your blocking tight ends as it is. So maybe that might take away from that 6th spot at wide receiver. You might say, this is a luxury that we don't need.
And you're going to have to borrow. You got to borrow from somewhere, right? I think it's going to be tough. It's so early to be doing 53 projections. I think we do one right before training camp, and then at the very end of training camp. So got a week to still try to figure it out. A week's worth of practices to try to figure out a projection. But it's gonna be tight. It's gonna be tight right now. Keeping 7 receivers, like you said, it's a luxury. It's a luxury I'm not positive they can afford.
No, they can't. No. They will not.
Like talent. Ezukama,
I can see them going 6, but then that's where things kind of get a little hairy for them. Now, obviously, unfortunately, injuries are kind of part of this damn game. So it's good to be that deep also at the same time.
So here's the thing, though. If it's between Ezukama and Chosen for the 6th spot, if you can trust one of those guys on the field and you can't trust the other, that was the problem with Ezukama last year. It wasn't talent; it was they couldn't trust him on the field. If he hasn't developed past that, like if he hasn't grown past that, 4th round pick or not, it's kind of a hard. It's hard to justify. So we'll have to see, because he was a great practice player. He's a great training camp player last year. It's one of those, I think it'll come down to preseason games and real live situations.
Those are the kind of guys that are going to get a ton of preseason action right there. And it's a question you really can't answer right now, Marcel. It's unfair to you. It's unfair to any of us. We have to let this thing play out. and see a month and a half or 2 months from now at the end of August, then we'll find out where we're at with Chosen and where we're at with Ezukama. And then we're going to say, okay, which one's the last cut out of those two? And then because we'll have a better feel for both guys at that point, and we'll find out if Ezukama has grown from those moments from training camp where he was outstanding, but it didn't translate to on the field. By the way, Braylon Sanders also played pretty well too. And then the few times he was used, it didn't show up. It didn't register, unfortunately. So that happens with young guys, man.
Yeah, he's made some plays downfield this throughout OTAs that we've seen. Braylon Sanders made some plays.
Braylon's got some talent, man. He's an intriguing one that they've got on this roster. There's no doubt about it. I'm hoping. I want to see if the Cameron Good kid, no pads on right now, so you're not going to get a feel. But once the pads go on, I'd like to see if Cameron Good got a little better than last year, because that's another guy that kind of flashed at times. I was like, this guy might have a little some to him.
With no. I was going to say there's an open spot with Melvin Ingram not back, but they did bring in Malik Reed, who will essentially fill that role, fill that position. We'll see where he's at. We'll see where he's at. I think you're going to see a pretty heavy rotation of pass rushers here. They've got a relatively deep core. They go 4 deep in terms of pass rushers. So maybe there's a spot for him here. All
right, what do you got going on ESPN so folks can check you out, my friend?
Gonna have reports from mandatory minicamp this week. Hopefully we'll get not hopefully, but we'll get a little more accurate look at where guys are at now that it's a month into the off-season program. But that's about it. And then we're diving into the quiet season, the slow times, June 9th to July, I want to say 25th, 26th is usually when training camp starts, where there are no updates. There's nothing new. That's vacation time. So that's what I'm going to be doing. Hopefully y'all can do the same. And then we'll meet right back up end of July and get this thing kicking off.
There you go. All right. Good stuff. As always, follow him on Twitter at Marcel_LJ. Marcel, have a fantastic week, my friend. We will catch up later on in the week. Thank you.
Yes, sir. You do the same, man.
Appreciate you. There you go. Marcel, Louis-Jacques, and Welt and Rheaume. That is our Welt and Rheaume Miami Dolphins and NFL report.
This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.